Okay, let's get started. So, today I'm going to have you paraphrase a standard, but differently than normal because you'll have it on that separate sheet that you picked up. So, in front of you, you have the speaking and listening standard in the rubric format, okay? So, what I want you to do, and you can turn and talk, right? You have lots of people to turn and talk with today. So you can turn and talk about the standard, and it's the speaking and listening standard we're going to be focusing on later during our round robin. And so what I want you to talk about and kind of come up with a good answer for is, what does this standard look like? So when you're having a discussion and you're addressing these things that you see, how are you meeting that standard? Okay, so read the standard, see if you can kind of paraphrase what it's asking you to do, and then I want you to tell me, what does that look like physically? Physically, what does that look like? And then what does it sound like? So what are you saying if you're meeting that standard?
So 2 responds well to others by often engaging in the following: propels conversations by relating discussion to broader ideas and themes, actively incorporates others, clarifies, verifies, or challenges ideas.
So, like, adding to the conversation,
Basically, yes.
What is the standard asking you to be able to do? Now, last time we did round robin, we focused on the same standard, but we focused on the B component, which is a little bit different. So today we're focusing on that C component, which is a little bit different than the B. So what is the standard asking you to do in a nutshell? Abigail, what do you think?
Me and Riley talked about it. We think that it responds, the standard is asking us to respond to others by being attentive and contributing to discussion, by finding the general ideas and bringing in new ideas and getting the other person to engage.
Absolutely, okay. So I really like a couple of things that you said, the getting new ideas. So you're generating new ideas between you. So by listening to their opinion on your response, you're coming up with more ideas in the same thing. So today, one of the things I really want you to focus on is listening really closely to someone's idea and then contributing your own ideas to that. So you're like working together to make your own response better. What does it look like?
You're attentively listening. You're not zoned out, I guess.
Absolutely. You're making eye contact. So through your body language, you're showing them that you're listening. You're being an attentive listener, I think is how you pose that. Very nice. Okay, what does that sound like? What are some of the things you might say if you're meeting that standard well? So you would be respectful. Can you add to that at all, Maggie?
You would say things like how you agree or disagree with people.
I agree with that because, I disagree with that because, or I think you could add to this in this way, and we're gonna look at some of those different ways you can do that later on. So what you're going to focus on for our round robin is this idea. And if you look on the back of this, so here's this from our Do Now. On the back is, you'll recognize this format from the last one that we did. And that is the prompt that we are focusing on for this. Think about all of the choices that he's made. And also think about the grand scheme of things. Okay, so think about all of these things before you make a decision. So I want you to respond to that on your own right here. We're going to talk about the round robin when you're done, and then I'll give you time to develop that further with your groups. Okay, so go ahead and individually take a minute to respond to that.
or are they based on luck and circumstance, right? So you need to determine that, right?
All right, so we are going to now, with what you have written, you're going to discuss what you have written with your person for about a minute. And then what you're going to do is you are going to then roll sideways, okay? So at the end, you will have spoken with 3 different people who will help you to develop your claim and maybe change your thinking. So remember, We are trying to meet that standard. So flip that paper over and take another look at what you are expected to do during this discussion. So we're really practicing those skills. Now, we're fired up about this topic, okay? So we need to be very careful that, A, we're being respectful, but I do want you to challenge each other, and you can do that through using that text evidence. Well, I know that you might think this, but here in this part, it says, okay? So we're going to go back to using those discussion stems that we used last time. They're a little bit different because we were talking about St. Lucy's last time. So what do I say? You're sharing your response. These are the things that you can discuss, but I really want you to help that person further their argument, strengthen their claim, etc. Okay? How do I say it? I think Romeo is or is not Fortune's fool because, or some of you said he was both, or it was both, which I really think is cool. And then you're going to give your evidence, because you have that already, and explain why you chose that piece of evidence to support your claim, right? Okay, so everybody's going to do that first, and then you're going to have this collegial academic discussion. Make sure you're talking about each other's evidence that you have to support your claim. Make sure you're providing them with more. You're trying to help them. They're trying to help you. Okay, that's the idea behind this. So maybe have your text out too, because you're going to want to look for spots that you can support your answer. And you have the books. I see a couple of you do. So if you want to, oh, where is that spot? That would be a really good piece of evidence. You can do that too. Okay, so use your resources. I'll walk around and help you, and go ahead and get started.
Back to his personality and his choices. And so she like indirectly affects him, and he's not expecting it. It's completely, and it shouldn't have happened based in his mind. She's a Capulet. Why would she love him? Yep. And then later, Tybalt's presence on the beach when he murdered Mercutio was also unexpected, and Romeo had no control over what happened.
He decided to go after.
They've only been in love for 2 days,
Tybalt,
and now they're getting married.
which I agree.
So, and it affects his friendship because he was supposed to go to the beach with Mercutio, and then his friend kind of died, so that didn't make it any better. And then I said the text evidence was like, oh, sweet Juliet, like you have made
Before
me effeminate, and then that
I just paraphrased evidence.
having feminine qualities. So he was like
Also
showing
wrote that he could have decided
qualities
not to
to
even
her.
go to the Capulet party.
All right, let's switch. So you're going to go to the right, one spot.
He was surprised because she was a Capulet and he was a Montague, and they ended up getting married, and he wasn't expecting her to affect the way he thought and to affect his views and his perspectives. So he never expected to become, as I said here, effeminate. And then later, when Tybalt arrives on the beach, that it's also purely by chance and he wasn't expecting it. And so I just said, like, a whole bunch of things just happened that Romeo wasn't expecting. He had no control over.
He first saw Juliet by a pure chance when he was walking throughout the manor, and he arrived at the whole fight thing when Mercutio and Tybalt were having
Yeah,
a
he arrived
conversation.
by chance too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, in the first place. If he had arrived a bit before or after, the whole thing might not have happened at all.
I never realized that. I never thought about his arrival even being by chance. I knew that Tybalt's was, but I didn't think about Romeo's presence. Well, what do you think about how after Romeo, like after Mercutio dies, what do you think how did Romeo's decision to go attack Tybalt, how do you think that affected whether or not his fortunes were full?
I call that chance, but some could think of it as that. But desire for revenge after something like that's a basic human instinct.
Yes, he is.
Do you think he was surprised, or do you think he was still upset?
Well, once Mercutio died, he basically went into a rage and only snapped out of it after he killed Tybalt.
Like a catastrophic event to bring him out.
Pretty much.
I paraphrased. Yeah, Tybalt wouldn't have been wanting to fight him if he hadn't seen Romeo at the party. What about you?
You're the first to disagree with me. I said that in a way he is. He first saw Juliet at the Capulet Manor by pure chance, and he just happened to arrive at Mercutio and Tybalt's confrontation at that time. If he had arrived a bit before or after, the whole thing might not have happened.
I disagree because the party was at the Capitol, which is his enemy, his family's enemy, and if he had been thinking better, he wouldn't have gone.
Well, the
because-
Capitalists did declare truce. Temporary one, but
Okay.
still truce.
Still, would you go to your enemies for even if they offered
I
truce
said
for
that
a
it could have been a
while?
combination too, because he can't help the fact that the families hate each other.
Choosing
did
to
like
hate
your
each other, how does that affect how he?
But I disagree.
I'm probably going to try to work it in for every major writing assignment, just because, and even when I was out here speaking to the students after the lesson, they liked being able to exchange ideas with their peers, and they liked having their peers help them develop what they were going to say. And like I said, it changed. Some of their claims changed and strengthened as they went. So for me as a teacher to see that happening, I know that it's working.